We are in game 2 of this matchup between Amazon and Amazon Prime. We're in Champ Select.
Yeah, and that's we do have on the sides have swapped here, of course, for game 2. On the blue side now is going to be Amazon Prime on the red side here, and we see that Sejuani ban coming out immediately from the red side here. They want to make sure that Playmaker is not available in this game too.
Yeah, and it looks as though Amazon, I don't think they feel it looks as though they don't feel that anyone that Amazon Prime played last game is worthy of a ban, because they're going with essentially the same bans as last game: the Vi, the Hecarim, and if this is the Gnar, this is just so much like BM right here. Like we don't even respect your picks from last game. We're gonna ignore. You can have the same exact team composition, and we will beat you again with it. Sejuani and Kalista. There's the. Oh my God! What? This is honestly a first for me. This is probably like one of the first times a team has just blatantly ignored the picks of a team in a best of 3.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're talking about what they would have changed too, and when they banned out that Kalista second, I probably would have opted to save that Kalista for the third ban, because that Kalista did show up really strong in the last game, and I understand perhaps wanting to take it out so you can prevent the blue side from getting what you feel is a strong champion right now. But that could have been a ban they drew away from the Gnar if they had kept that unavailable, but they actually opted to take it out themselves in their second pick here. So I'm not sure I necessarily agree with the placement of that ban, but we'll see how it works out. Perhaps they have a different composition in mind here.
Yeah, and again, Iron Sheep, you take away the number 1 jungler in the current meta, he's just going to take the number 2 jungler in the current meta. Alternately, Gragas and Juani are either 1 and 2, depending on who you ask, but a strong jungler right now, so he's definitely going to be showing his stuff on this champion. But you could argue that Gragas actually does provide a little bit more for his team compared to Sejuani. That's why people play him a little bit more. They're still extremely powerful champions, and it's going to be interesting to see what red team Amazon Prime pick up with this. The Maokai and Nidalee. This leaves up.
Talking about standard meta picks here that are really strong right now. Maokai, of course, fits that bill to a T. And I'm interested to see what the rest of the blue side picks are going to be, because you were mentioning the differences between that Gragas and Sejuani. One of the key differences is in team fights that Gragas is a lot about separating out the enemy team, using that ultimate to give them poor positioning, whereas Sejuani is trying to capitalize upon poor positioning here. We might see a more pick-oriented team follow up that Gragas here. I mean, the bans being all 3 the same bans here this time, I wouldn't expect to see too different of a team composition. It looks like they're largely going to stick with what worked, but that Gragas might be a sign that they're going to shift. They do. Here in game 2.
They did leave Sivir up, so we might just see the Sivir come out again from Amazons. It synergizes so well with their Gragas because it allows you to just get in closer to the backline to throw that explosive cask and kind of mess up the positioning of the key targets. And they don't lock it in just yet. Instead, they're just going to be picking up the Mundo again from last game. So it seems as though the only thing that's been changed so far is this Gragas from the Sejuani. So
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the team comp is going to be played effectively the same. The ultimate's not, the explosive cast not going to be used for the immediate engage like the Glacial Prison from Sejuani. So he's going to have to be a little bit more careful with it. Meanwhile, Argonaut Jason hovering over. I think he just typed in marksman and now he's just hovering over all of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar, but that Teemo's in that rotation, so I'm not.
No,
sure.
Teemo's under marksman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really it's weird, but he is. I feel as though so far with the Sivir is still such a great pickup, especially since you know that they're going to be playing Lucian. I feel as though it's an obvious choice right now, Not if they lock in the Anivia, though. If you're gonna lock in the
Anivia,
if you're locking in the Anivia, if you're locking in the Anivia, then I think you pick someone that goes well in the late game along with her. So the Jinx might be the better pick. Yeah, there it is. It's either the Jinx or the Vayne. Vayne's a little bit more dangerous to play, especially with a Maokai being on the enemy team. So Jinx, probably one of the more obvious choices if you have the Anivia on your team. So
yeah, and this is going to be an action-packed mid lane here because we're going to see that Ezreal locked in for the mid lane. Going to try and apply a lot of pressure to that Anivia early on here.
Yeah, and Amazon, they've essentially went from mid-game team fight to late-game team fight. This is just going to be a huge late-game power spike from them. And if they can effectively win mid-game, if they can win early game, then they can snowball mid-game into their favor, and late game they automatically win. The damage output from, wait a minute, this is AP Ezreal.
Well, you know,
this is awesome.
This
is awesome.
This might be a blue. Let's not get too hyped about that. That is possible.
I don't care what you say. This is a blue Ezreal. Please let this be blue. No, not AP Ezreal. I meant AP.
Yeah, I think it might be more of a blue Ezreal myself.
No,
I mean, we do have Nidalee coming out of the jungle as well. We've seen a lot of that more damage style Nidalee in the jungle lately, and with Maokai in the top lane as well. He certainly isn't bringing a lot of damage, but that's probably enough ability power damage coming out from the red side here to where you can actually run a double AD comp effectively here. But, you know, who knows? We might see at least a Trinity Force start from that Ezreal again if you want to apply a lot of pressure to that Anivia early on.
So the thing with the Ezreal pickup, it's alongside picks like the Rumble and the Azir, is that you have methods of attacking the backline extremely safely. Like, you don't have to put yourself in danger to hurt the backline. Like, Rumble has the Equalizer, Azir has the Sand Soldiers, Ezreal has his ultimate. And being on such a low cooldown and doing such a high amount of damage, if you force away the Jinx or the Anivia from the fight, like before the fight even begins, you've essentially put the fight into your favor, and you've maybe even won the fight already, because they just can't get in. And this is why I really do like the Ezreal pickup against two pretty long range champions that your front line's gonna have a hard time getting onto. The Maokai is going to have to deal with the Mundo, the Bard, and the Gragas. All three of them have such a high amount of utility to keep the Jinx and the Anivia alive. So with the Ezreal pick, it allows him to poke the backline, chunk them down, take them out of the fight, and they can effectively steamroll through whoever is left on the Amazon team.
And you know, that's exactly the kind of composition they're going for, because with that Nidalee pickup as well, she's going to be looking to throw those spears right into the backline as much as possible. If her and Ezreal combine trying to sync up their long-range poke from different angles, I mean, Mundo can only block so many skill shots. You know, as big as he is, you know, he's only got so large of a hitbox to protect that Jinx and Anivia. So if they can just land a couple of shots here and there, I mean, it's certainly not the Nidalee of old days, but we've seen that 18 Nidalee bring a lot of damage when, especially if she lands really long-range spears. So we'll see if she's able to actually land those on those targets.
I would not be surprised to see the Luden's Echo coming out from Dio Diesel. I would not be surprised. Maybe even, I would even go so far as to say the first item after jungle item is completed.
Yeah, I'm feeling that as well. I believe so. I mean, and one of the things I do want to emphasize as well, all three of those damage-dealing targets on the red side, every one of them has a built-in escape. Nidalee with that pounce, Ezreal with the arcane shift, Lucian with his dash. There's so much ways for them to get out if they are engaged upon, that even though they are very large damage dealers and fairly squishy themselves, they are still very safe champions when it comes to these team fights. They can reposition themselves throughout sticky situations, perhaps in the jungle. So looking from the blue side's perspective here, they're really going to have to catch somebody really devastatingly out of position to punish them with Anivia, because that Anivia wall not going to have the utility
and
it usually does.
They don't really have that either. The only form of immediate lockdown they'll have is from either the Anivia or from the Bard. The Bard in itself is going to be hard to hit unless it's set up for you, or unless they're hugging a wall. And Nivea can actually lead someone in with her wall, and then as they go towards one side of it, just throws out the Q and gets the stun off. But that's only more experienced Anivia players even do that. I don't know exactly how much Leech plays the Anivia, but if it warranted a ban, I'm sure that he's fairly proficient on the champion.
Well, yeah, we've seen a lot of previous games here. There's actually an early start-off battle here at level 1.
They cannot.
They're just barely gonna miss that Anivia.
They can't fight level 1.
By the skin of her teeth.
They cannot fight level 1, especially against the double AD carry. The damage is so high right now, and look at that. Leech is so low. They actually get a stun onto AHGL, but he should be able to survive.
It's going to be a lot of damage on both sides. A lot of targets
so much,
very low. Of course, Anivia does have that passive available right now, so if Iron Sheep, though, taking so much harassment, they have to back away here. I mean, you just can't risk a game 2 being lost because of a cheeky level 1 start here, so they're going to back away and see that vision.
That was so smart by Amazon Prime. They never fully engaged. They just constantly disengaged and poked them out so that they were able to whittle down the members of Amazon effectively winning them that pseudo I guess invade. No summoner spells popped though, so no one's getting a huge lead just yet.
Well, we actually did see the Ezreal had to flash throughout that engagement.
Oh, that is correct. Yeah.
Engagement. But yeah, that Ezreal, of course, with his Arcane Shift available, not going to matter too much in the early game here. He'll probably be just fine in that short mid lane here. So see, opting to start directly onto the red buff here is Gragas, so looking to get an early gank in once he can secure those double buffs early on.
Yeah, right now.
The, top lane.
Yeah, and I love Llamas with the Doran's Blade. I mean, it's not a surprise to see that on AP Ezreals. It gives them a little bit of... It gives them help when they're farming up in the lane. But he doesn't have any AP runes or masteries, so it may not be an AP Ezreal. It might just be that blue Ezreal you were talking about. And if that is the case, then Amazon Prime need to win mid game, because that is when they're strongest. Amazon, they really can't hope to fight in the mid game because of the double AD carry composition. It's just so strong at that point, and they have to turtle. If Amazon wins early game, they snowball into mid game, and they can fight on par with Amazon Prime. If they can't do that, they'll need to play safely and turtle into late game, where they'll have the advantage. That's when the composition of Prime will start to fall off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the later and later it goes into this game, the more and more time that Jinx is going to have to turn on, Mundo is going to have time to become unkillable. And
yeah,
once you hit a certain point in the game,
there's the engage.
Arcane Shift there, phasing away right after that stun landed from Anivia. So
yeah,
going to be a little safe in that mid lane, but
right now
bringing some pressure to the top lane.
And right now, Diesel did just go back. He has his jungle item, and Iron Sheep has yet to go back. Actually, he's actually fairly healthy, full health right now, and I Love Llamas actually may just be caught out. So close to walking to that bush Iron Sheep was in. And meanwhile, bottom lane, Argonaut Jason.
And then the point blank hook after the Flay walked up to. Beautiful play from the Thresh, of course, just threatening the hook. As we see actually in the mid lane, there's the Ignite out onto that Ezreal. He still doesn't have that flash available from the level 1. That's a lot of damage, but it's not going to
the minions! Oh, the minions!
Gonna have her egg popped by those minions, and then Ezreal actually throwing in a little bit of additional poke. I'm not sure this Nidalee is gonna be able to get the kill here, but that is the passive down for Anivia for a long period
I Love Llamas even had to use heal. He tried so hard to get the kill, but Iron Sheep forced him away just to the pressure that he provided. Really nicely played by him, keeping the Anivia alive for the time being. Though I don't think he expected the Anivia to even die right there. And with the Anivia with her passive being down right now, she has to play so safely. The main reason why she's allowed to be that aggressive in the laning phase is because she has the backup measure that is her egg. Now that it's down, Ezreal can be so aggressive as much as he wants, and Anivia is really not going to be able to fight back in terms of damage until level 6. And even then, she's going to rely on blue buff to make sure she doesn't run out of mana. So this is looking really nice for Isle of Llamas in the mid lane. Meanwhile, we can always transition over to the side lanes. Crapile in the top lane, picking up a CS lead, pushing in against Yellow as well. I mean, not really unexpected. The Maokai should be able to outduel the... Oh man, the engage in the bottom.
We see Nidalee standing outside of the ward in the tri-brush there, so when she comes in for this dive, it's not going to be anticipated here. Maokai tanking up the turret. That's a lot of damage on Mundo already, but he doesn't have that 6 available. Nidalee gonna miss the spear, so he will be getting out with his life there. Actually, Maokai now under pressure here. Grog is gonna force the flash, so Maokai loses that summoner top.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a very gankable lane here in the future.
Man, and that was just really unfortunate by Dowdiesel. He missed everything in that gank. He only really needed one, he needed one thing to hit, either the trap or the spear, but nothing hit onto Yellow right there, so he couldn't jump in, get the reduced cooldown on the pounce.
Yeah, we see just briefly ago in that mid lane, we saw already Israel microing against that wall very effectively here, dodging out the zoning into that ultimate out of Anivia. So already coming into play is the versatility of these picks for the red side here against that Anivia, who is opting to go for that Rod of Ages first, as we've seen, to try and scale up even harder into this late game.
Yeah, it's gonna help. It's gonna help her out so much. I see a lot of Anivias also pick up the tier, so we may see that item come out from her as well. Like, she relies so heavily on mana, and the tier allows her to scale up into late game just that much better. Tier already on to Isle of Llamas, so he'll just be picking that up. No combat stats onto him just yet past the initial Doran's Blade. So Leech gonna have a fairly easy time for the time being until Isle of Llamas goes back and picks up another damage item. That's when we're really gonna see if he's AD or AP, but my money's still on AD.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it's going to be the AD Blue Ezreal with that picked up from the tier here. The Ezreal ultimate not going to land to get any harassment onto this bottom lane, but we did see a little while ago that hook from Thresh did force the flash out of Bard, so that summoner spell not going to be available. This is a very dangerous bottom lane here, as neither of them have flash available, but here's Gragas to sort of turn the tables. Tosh taken so low on that Thresh.
Oh.
The minion gonna be a hero and block the zap out of Jinx.
And Iron Sheep wasn't level 6 yet. If he had been level 6, that would have been a kill onto the Thresh. And not only do they force away the Grimes because he was fairly low in health, they're just gonna transition over to the Dragon and take this effectively for free. There's the Jinx ultimate going out to spot it from happening, but it's not gonna be there in time to attempt to steal. Really nicely played by Amazon Prime right there, turning around the gank into no kills to Amazon, and as well as taking the first dragon of the game, first dragon for their team. And this is where they start the snowball. This is where they're gonna be strong.
Yeah, unfortunately for the blue side, Jinx having that ultimate skirt right through the dragon and go to a healthy member as opposed to that Thresh who was very low. So that's going to be the first dragon of the game going over to the red side, and they also have a bit of a gold lead building as well from those minor CS advantages, largely in the top lane, that Maokai. HGL
needs to go back. He has no mana, so he's going to have a really tough time of escaping, and he's so aggressive. He wants to go in. Iron Sheep is level 6. If he is in range of the explosive cast, it's going to be a kill. Tosh has gone back. He's bought that Sight Stone, but no one else in the bottom lane has bought any items. They're sitting on a lot of gold right now, and HGL really wants this BF sword.
Yeah, and that Thresh being in the bottom lane might give a little bit of false confidence to this Lucian, who, as you say, is really being aggressive right now, looking to go in, but Gonna choose to just back out of the bush. There is the Gragas from Iron Sheep here. Gonna go back, gonna see what he can create as far as plays in other lanes. That blue buff is available to give over to Anivia, so she's certainly gonna want that to be picked up here momentarily. There is a ward to spot it out though, so we'll see if Nidalee, who is on the top side of her jungle, is gonna look to contest that.
And it would be really key for Amazon Prime to deny Anivia the blue buff. They don't have any vision of her making her way to that position if they wanted to, which is really bad. We actually see Diesel looking for something. Actually, no, that's just going to be the True Shot Barrage from Isle of Llamas looking for it.
They weren't able to get it. From Ezreal. Well, I mean, a good attempt, certainly, that you got that low cooldown on your ultimate. It's definitely worth a try and steal. And they did get quite closer, but unfortunately for them, that blue did make its way onto Anivia. So she's going to have all the mana she needs in lane there to just throw out her ultimate to get that wave clear. Unfortunately, the Death Sentence going a little wide right over the shoulder of Anivia.
Yeah, and now that she has her ultimate with the blue buff, she can effectively stall this lane out. Continue farming up. She's going to have a much higher impact late game compared to this Ezreal. It looks as though he is AD, has the Phage in his inventory right now, so most likely getting the Trinity Force as his item. Actually, we could have actually told, we actually could have found out if he was going to be AP or AD looking at the skills that he's been maxing. He actually has been maxing Mystic Shot, so that's kind of a tell that's AD. If it was AP, he would have been maxing W.
Yeah, that's a good point for sure. And we see actually back in this bottom lane again is Iron Sheep waiting for Bard to clear out that ward, so he's not going to be seen walking into the tribe.
Oh man, I love Llamas!
Mid. There's the Ignite coming out as well. So much damage onto Ezreal. I'm not sure it's going to be enough. He's going to be able to make it out with just a little sliver of health available. But Anivia stepping way deep forward, actually going to flash, and that's going to be first blood. Beautiful Anivia play there, and that's what we expect out of Leech. His Anivia is so strong here, and he's looking to actually try and take down the Nidalee as well, but meanwhile in the bottom lane, breaking out a fight. AHGL finally going to be punished for being so aggressive here. We see back in the jungle, Anivia still looking to fight as the teleport comes in as well to try and give her some relief now that her egg is down.
Oh.
That's so much damage. One single pounce could take her out, but that's just going to be Maokai using the Twisted Advance to clean that up and secure the blue buff for himself there.
Oh,
the
man.
Herd is going down during all of this action here.
The camera kept jumping back and forth to me, so I could never get a clear look at what was happening. But what I gathered from that was that Leech, you gotta ban it with the Anivia, man. That was insane. First getting the kill onto the Ezreal and then surviving against the Nidalee while she's in egg form is such a huge play. That was such a huge play from her. And while she didn't get the kill onto Diesel, she forced her away, not the flash, unfortunately. And meanwhile, in the bottom lane, the Jinx Bard combination may be a little bit too strong for AHGL and Tosh at the moment. They are up in terms of the items that they have, Cloak of Agility, just full components of the Infinity Edge on AHGL's side. Argonaut Jason evening it up right there. So still fairly even in terms of items. However, they have to look for skirmishes. They can't go for full-on fights because the Jinx will just win them out with the attack speed that she gets from minigun form.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing a bit of a slugfest happening here in this top lane, but don't be fooled by that as Mundo does have that ultimate available. And, you know, speaking to how clutch those Anivia plays were, remember, this is Anivia who took Ignite and not Heal, so much more dangerous game for Anivia than most standard Anivias we see here. Showing a lot of proficiency on that champion to be able to survive in Mundo. Under pressure here, that's going to be not enough time with the ultimate running, so just going to be immediately burst down by that Nidalee who's coming in for the gank here. And they're thinking about taking his top lane, but might be forced to back away here because they don't have the minions for it.
And that was unfortunate. He had his ultimate too, but he wanted to wait a little bit longer before he popped it just to get the maximum amount of heal out of it. But he did end up dying as a result of that. But it's a trade-off. This is just going to help Diesel start ramping up. Has the Blasting Wand in his inventory right now, so I think he's gonna be getting That's actually nah. He can get a multitude of items. No idea, right there. Tosh will be taking that pink ward out, but this is a lot of damage onto him.
So much damage onto the Bard. Yeah, that single spear doing a lot. Oh, but the Iron Sheep, the ultimate from Gragas missing out there. So AHGL gonna be fine here. The Relentless Pursuit is down though, so he doesn't have his stash available. He's gonna go in all in to try and get that Bard. Bard will flash away just to play it safe there, and he will be going down.
He can.
That is the top turret going down in exchange though by Maokai.
Yeah, he continued to try and kite 3 members of the enemy team, but he should have just started running away. You can't really hope to kite. Oh, Diesel! With the spear.
That spear, and she waited for the Mystic Shot or the True Shot barrage from Ezreal to come out. And the combo there gonna be enough to pick up Bard, so a bit of a consolation prize as that dragon does go down.
And meanwhile, Crap Pile in the top lane, he's just pushing that tower like a boss, trying to take it down as fast as possible. And no one on Amazon is there to immediately stop it from happening. So this tower is very close to going down. It will not go down right now, mainly because
it's so prepped for a top lane push later on. I mean, especially if there's some sort of trade for a dragon again. I mean, they've evened up the dragons now 1-to-1. So if they do want to trade a second dragon over to them for an inner turret in the top lane, that will create a lot of pressure in what is the lane that determines how available Baron will be later on. So definitely a lot of critical damage into that top lane inner turret.
Yeah. So far, teams are fairly even. Bit of a gold lead in favor of Amazon Prime at the moment. And there's the Righteous Glory completed by Crowpile, so it's going to allow his team to engage fairly easily. They're going to be looking for a lot of mid-game team fights when their power spikes are at the highest. Most likely waiting for Isle of Llamas to finish up on the Trinity Force before doing that. Manamune is in his inventory right now, so it looks as though he's just one of the components of this Sheen before finishing that up. Infinity Edge on both of those AD carries in the bottom lane. No lead has really been picked up. The 2 assists onto Jinx and 2 deaths onto Lucian, they're fairly negligible because the gold leads are so close.
The crits coming out in the bottom lane in favor of the blue side here as well. Taken Solo actually going to force the heal. And there's the flash to get the last shot in, and she's excited. She will get a second kill. Jinx with the double. Wow, I was just going to mention too how impressive I was seeing dodging out all those hooks from Tosh on the Thresh. And I mean, that's the benefit of it. If you can never get an engagement to actually try and poke out your enemies, and that CC is always down, eventually there's just going to be an opportunity for them to engage upon you. And then, you know, all of a sudden there's a double kill for this Jinx. And now she's going to be hitting her stride into this mid-game very strong, like you were speaking about earlier.
Yeah.
Jinx is going to turn online here much sooner than normal.
Yeah, Tanes, I don't know what you're doing, man. Ariana Jason will be able to take that bottom lane second tier tower, and they're actually going to attempt to steal for this blue buff. Can they get it? No, they will not. The smite from Wait, what? Why did Iron Sheep take it?
No, it was a smite from Gragas.
Yeah,
looks like it was,
why did he...
They're seeing the mark.
Yeah, why did...
mark from the Nidalee on it. Probably just going to play it safe there, as Anivia already did have a blue buff available.
Yeah,
so
but it's gone.
Be a refresh.
It's gone.
How much time was on that? Okay.
Yeah.
It just ran out right now. So
yeah,
perhaps it was worth a little bit more of a risk there to put that on Anivia, because we already saw right there just hitting that recall momentarily. She really does want to go back. She doesn't have. Much
they can't afford to fight right now.
Alive.
Yeah, right now Amazon they cannot afford to fight without the Anivia providing any sort of damage, especially against the double AD carries. Dragon's not going to be up for another probably 2.5 minutes. So this is just going to allow them to push down the mid lane. No Anivia there to stop the immediate push. There's not a lot of wave clear on their side right now. And they're actually going to go in, catching out Argonaut Jason.
Knowing those recalls were coming out, they knew they had the advantage here. And that's so much damage onto the Jinx. They're going to try and turn this around, but that turret is gone now. So if they're going to fight, they're going to be doing it just in the open here. That's so much damage. The Colleen
Oh! Oh!
Every shot. Beautiful ultimate from Bard. The positioning worked out. The box was there for when they came out of the stasis, and now they're so low. Jane's barely gonna make it out alive, dodging the Nidalee Spear to save his life here. Anivia does have that ultimate or that passive available, but Bard taken down by the Ezreal shot, and Tosh gonna be finished up here as well. Actually, a very bloody team fight again from these two teams. And Iron Sheik looking to not let this.
They were so bloodthirsty. Man, the fight's still going on. Iron Sheik wants this kill so badly. Can they get it?
Back away. Finally, he's going. No, he's actually going to survive here. That heal from the passive. Iron Sheik is now on the run. Anivia gonna land the stun.
Oh!
And the super mega death rocket from deep. From Jinx.
What is what?
The kill.
These teams are so bloodthirsty. First, Amazon Prime. They win the fight after the great combination of Tosh flashing into the middle of the enemy team when Tane's kind of set his team up to die right there. He locked down 4 of his own team members in the ultimate, so when Tosh flashed in, put the box down, they're all going to be hitting those walls. But then after that, they've effectively won the fight. Back away. You cannot hope to dive the Anivia and the Gragas. It just can't happen. But they continue to try to do it, and they lost 2 members in that alone. Then they tried to then as they were trying to escape, they didn't just flat out leave. They tried to continue looking for picks, and that's when it cost them. When Jinx threw out an ultimate, they're just gonna go for another fight.
Yeah, and speaking of picks there, Anivia landing that wall perfectly to corner Tosh, and that's Thresh gonna be going down. Gonna try and Twisted Advance into it, but there's no follow-up there. No one is available here. That red buff is on Jinx, so she's able to kite this Maokai effectively here. Gonna Twisted Advance in again, but there's the ultimate from Grog. It's gonna be saving Jinx. The stasis gonna prevent Anivia, though. The ultimate from Ezreal will get her in the end, and that's gonna be a triple kill onto Ezreal as Gragas is cleaned up as well, and that's gonna be the Dragon.
Yeah, they just didn't have Mundo there. That was effectively a 4v5, and they only got a kill onto Krappa. I think Tosh died as well, right there. But their focus was they just didn't have any focus. That's what I'm trying to say. They were splitting their damage across multiple members when they should have just focused on one person at a time, and that's kind of the reason why they lost the fight. That and they didn't have the front line. There was no Mundo there.
Without that teleport available, good track of the timer from the red side here. That's going to cost them the fight and a mid lane inner turret as well. So, I mean, pushing ever forward, we remember earlier how much damage was on the inner turret in the top lane.
Oh, man.
The base is starting to be compromised here.
Diesel has a Rod of Ages. So that makes me think that he's building for late game.
Yeah, perhaps seeing how even the scores are right now, perhaps encouraging himself to go a little bit more late game oriented. I'm not sure they're going to be able to win in the late game though, because I mean, just so many
they just
hyper carries in the late game.
Another really close ultimate by I Love Llamas to take away Leech's blue buff. But like you said, they really can't hope to win the late game against the Jinx and Anivia, but they're gonna go for the fight anyways.
Good zoning there. The mystical journey not gonna be enough to get him out of there in time. That's gonna be so much damage. I never thought I'd see a Gragas tanked for, but Mundo doing that right now, not gonna be enough. It's actually gonna cost him his life, even with that ultimate running, as that's just so much damage available. All 4 members were there. Nidalee in tow as well now. That's going to be the siege starting up on this middle lane inhibitor turret. With this double AD, that's a lot of potential. That's so much damage onto Tosh, though. The wall again from Anivia zoning into a kill for Jinx. Wow, I'm just so impressed by those Anivia walls. Zoning, creating opportunities for the rest of her team multiple times now. And those kills, I mean, again, this effectively prevented the siege from going on any further. Might have saved them in mid lane inhibitor turret here.
And this is just like a completely opposite game from game 1. These teams are so close, where in the last game, you just saw Amazon absolutely destroying Amazon Prime in every single team fight, and that just goes to shows how much the team comp is going to matter against in these two teams. When these two teams play against each other, the team comp is really going to matter because it's going to dictate how well they do in the team fights. You saw Amazon Prime have a really bad team fighting composition last game, and they just got rolled. This time, they have a really nice team fighting composition, and they're fighting back. They're effectively going even until they get caught out, just like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, that will be Lucian going down in the top lane. We saw him do a lot of damage to that Mundo as he's just now getting his resistances built up here in his items, but it's going to be the split push again from Maokai, creating so much pressure in those side lanes all throughout this game here, forcing Jinx to react going down to that bottom lane. He's looking to actually try and zone her away, and he effectively will do so with that Nidalee and Ezreal hanging around in the jungle. Jinx not wanting to play it too risky here.
They're just going to rotate to the bottom lane, but without AHGL, they really can't afford to fight. Just stay safe until he joins your team. And actually, he's headed to the top lane, AHGL, just to clear out that top minion wave. Nope. Making his way downtown. Walking fast. Faces past.
It looks like they're going to pick up the Scuttle Crab here in preparation for...
But he's not homebound. He's not homebound. Oh, man. That song is so good. Oh man! Leech!
Forward, that's so much damage. The egg is available, I do believe, and that's going to be the ignite thrown down onto Ezreal. Ezreal going down, going to get the kill credit over to Astronaut Jason again. And that's going to be a lot of damage coming out. The follow-up chase from Mundo going to be giving people the business here, but teleporting right into the thick of things. This Maokai is going to be able to soak up a lot of damage. That is the egg popped from Anivia here. So now playing for blood if they choose to stick around any longer. That is a blue buff onto Jinx now, so she's going to be keeping that Q toggled on all day, and they're going to opt to just shove right up on this mid lane, and they're recalling in the Dragon Pit area. The wall from Anivia zoning them out again. Beautiful placement from that wall, and that's going to be an inhibitor or an inner turret in the mid lane for their trouble as they look to rotate up to the top lane inner turret as well. Those minions, they're not a lot of minions, but possibly enough to create pressure.
Yeah, they'll just be able to rotate over the top lane, and they may not be able to... Oh, they're going to go for the fight. They're going to engage.
Yeah, it's going to be Maokai popping that active there, and that's going to be immediately Anivia going down again. That egg not available this time around, and there's Jinx locked up by the Twisted Advance. That's going to be Jinx going down as well from the swipe. Unfortunately, the ultimate from Bard not landing onto anybody this time. I think that's the first time I've seen this Bard not land a skill shot perfectly here. But that could be the most critical skill shot of the game, as now it looks like they're going to rotate to trying to take this Baron here.
Yeah, and right now, all we have are just two tanks and a support trying to fight against this team. This is just really poor planning, and they might be able to get this kill. No, they can't. HGL is so low. He needs to be careful. No lifesteal for himself right now. Just the 3% from the Doran's Blade. He's got to be really careful, and this is going to be a kill going over. That is...
Yeah, gutsy play from Iron Sheep there. He did get himself in range, but wasn't able to get the smite off in time, and that's going to be just 2 kills for nothing there as the Baron went down as well. A good effort there trying to fight that off, but not able to do so in the end. So after that great rotation, they're sweeping out some objectives. They actually lose a perhaps more critical objective in that Baron.
Yeah. Double Last Whisper completed on both the Ezreal and the Lucian, so they're going to be really, really strong in these upcoming team fights. And the thing is, there's not a lot of armor being built either, so they're just going to be ripping through people in these fights. Yeah, I would have been really happy if Krapow was playing a top laner that builds the Black Cleaver because he would synergize so well with his team.
Yeah, absolutely. That would have been really good in this competition. You know, I'm actually surprised to see that Mundo not go for the Spirit Visage, since we did see... I mean, there is certainly a lot of AP available. We see Nidalee sitting on that needlessly large rod. I'm surprised to not see that, to get that extra passive with his just overall regeneration. And
But the thing is, they're just so scared of the AD from Isle of Llamas and HGL that they need to respect it. If he built the MR, then he wouldn't have finished the armor, and that means he just wouldn't have been able to survive immediately. You can dodge the Nidalee spears, but you can't dodge the auto attacks.
Yeah, that's certainly a good point. Showing a lot of respect for that. I'm just a little concerned going for the Warmogs right out, just to get the flat HP. There's so much damage since this is a double AD composition. They're gonna have a lot of sustained damage to just whittle you down, whittle that HP down bit by bit here. And it looks like they were looking to try and rotate top again, but thinking better of it, since they didn't have the minions available, they could effectively, with all those 5 members there, they could just go blow on that inner turret, but didn't want to risk that without the minions. So gonna opt to just go back, clear up their buffs out of their jungle, get that onto Ezreal and Lucian respectively, and just group again in this top lane, as Maokai will be bringing those minions with him. And unfortunately, the blue side, on the complete opposite side of the map, they do know they're there as well.
Yeah,
I'm not sure exactly. They might have just lose this inner turret on the top side.
Yeah, this is just really poor rotation on the part of Amazon. They're just effectively giving this tower up. Bard can maybe save it with his ultimate, but he's not going to use it instead. And they're actually going to find Tosh. Could this be the turn on for them to take out the Thresh? No, they don't take that Thresh!
Another Anivia Wall creating a pick onto Thresh. I've seen that so many times this game. The Nidalee Spear does chunk out more than half of the hit points on Jinx, but she's going to be able to just run away. And now the siege begins in the top lane, but there's no Baron buff anymore. There's only 4 members, and Tane's so low, but there's no more globals available, as that Ezreal ultimate is already down. So they're going to be forced to back away here, and are just going to give up the rest of their Baron buff and a kill onto Thresh for nothing effectively in that top lane, aside from that initial turret that they just out-rotated for.
And now we've just come back to the waiting game. Can Amazon Prime take the small lead that they have? It's about a 6,000 gold lead in their favor. Can they take this and push these objectives down? Dragon completely in their favor. If they take this 4th dragon, it's going to be so good for them. Otherwise, this is where Amazon is going to start scaling to their true power. Jinx, she's working on Mercurial Scimitar right now. So the lockdown that's going to be coming out from really only Crap Pile is gone. There's really no way to lock down this Jinx, and when she finishes that item, she already has the QSS, so it's already going to be impossible to lock down the Jinx, but when she gets the extra AD, it's just going to be extra threat on top of that.
Yeah, no,
they'll need to rely on Diodiesel to either poke her out with the spears, or Isle of Llamas to do enough damage with the ultimate, and being AD, it's not going to really be that huge. That was no damage right there. That was a tickle to them.
Absolutely. And we still have as we mentioned earlier, the prioritizing of armor over MR here. That's because we saw the Locket Rush from this Bard, trying to get that passive aura for a little extra magic resist on everybody. Good wall from Anivia there. They're looking to start this off here, but they're right by the base gate to disengage should they choose, and it looks like they're going to have to here. They do catch out a lot of damage onto that Maokai, but he's not the target you want that damage going on to. So much damage onto Ezreal, though. A good hook onto Jinx, and she's almost going to go down to the Piercing Light, but the heal going to keep her alive. And there's the ultimate, the culling coming out. Again, the Anivia Wall zoning them into the ultimate for so long. They are going to get Lucian for it, but that's another 2 members going down, as there's so much pressure under this turret. Not going to go down is Nidalee here. The heal going to keep herself alive. And there is the ace coming out just under this turret. 2 members barely dodging the last bit of that aggro.
And right there, the team fights. The teams, they were fighting so nicely. No one was dying. They were poking each other back and forth until the Mundo decides to walk into the other side of the wall. He was the first one to die, and then Gragas and the Jinx both flash over the wall, just completely disregarding positioning whatsoever. And that's effectively where the fight was won for Amazon Prime. They were getting these kills because of the huge mistakes from Amazon right there. They had no reason to go over that wall. They cannot fight without the Mundo being alive. You have the Anivia. You can stall the game out for as long as you want with her ultimate, but instead they decided they wanted to fight in a bad situation after you've lost your front line, after they still have their 80 carries dealing damage not to the tank anymore, but to your own damage dealers. The Jinx is powerful late game, but not 2v1 against 280 carries powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to see, picking up on that rotation, they're actually going to get the Dragon, so they will prevent this from going into a critical situation here as far as the Dragon count is concerned, and pick up their second of the game as well, getting them ever closer to that critical third Dragon for the bonus move speed. And it actually looks like they're trying to set up some wards around Baron here to contest that, but with those empowered minions in the mid lane, there's going to be so much pressure. I'm not sure they're going to be able to effectively contest this Baron, because those super minions are just going to charge down right into their base.
Yeah, and Yital, he's so weak right now compared to the Maokai. Frozen Heart would have been such a good item onto him. Instead he went for the random, and they're actually going to catch out Iron Shape. There's the fight!
Yeah, there's the engagement there. The box thrown down, so much AoE there to zone people out, and that's going to be Mundo going down first. How many times can you say that? Followed by Gragas even. So those are all the tankiness gone. The carry's still available here, but Nivea doesn't have mana to do anything here. The egg is down, so she's going to fall immediately. There's Jinx getting caught out by the Twisted Advance. This could be the end here as Tane's caught out as well by the Nidalee.
And this is going to be game.
No, he's going to go down as well. That's the ace, so...
Yeah, this is game.
They're just going to face tank this up and finish this out. Wow, great. I mean, those team fights.
Yeah,
beautiful.
And Mundo and Gragas, they got caught out right there, which they cannot do this late into this game. It's so devastating to get picked off after like the 35 minute mark, 40 minute mark, because death timers are so long they can effectively end game off of that. They just came up as their Nexus exploded. That was the length of their death timer, and they really cannot afford to do that, especially without their team there to immediately back them up. We saw the Maokai and the Lucian in the mid lane, so they effectively could have won the fight if they were grouped as 5 to collapse on the 3 members that were engaging onto them, but they weren't together, and they weren't able to fight effectively. Both the tanks were taken out. Then you saw Leech out of mana very quickly, and then he was just caught out by Tosh, flashing in, bringing Dow Diesel to the Anivia, and that was just game over. End of the story.
And I want to highlight very quickly here as well, I Love Llamas. 10, 3, and 10 on Ezreal did 10k more damage than anyone on the opposing team. That is so insane. We spoke at the start of the game about when they need to turn on. That mid lane Ezreal turned on, and he didn't back off for the entire game. So
that's going to be Amazon Prime evening up the score 1-1. We're going to game 3, guys, and this is going to be fun.
Yeah, here we go. Definitely stay tuned here as we go into game 3.
Yeah, we're actually going to take a quick break. Just going to get some more water for myself, and we will return.